In number, there is one for every life which ever was, or ever will be. And like most lives, they wait for a moment, the moment. One will be sent on its journey back toward the yellow sun. Approaching the sun brings definitive change. It will never again be the same. Peering in our skies, it is believed to be the prophecy of extraordinary events. The birth of kings. The death of empires. After centuries or millennia, the journey must end. Perhaps smothered by its own dust, the dark, soulless body continues eternally through space and time. It may disintegrate and crumble into inconsequential rubble. Or it may be lost forever, crashing, burning into the yellow sun. And tonight as I look into the sky and it looks back on me, I want to know, which am I? I need to know. Is this the beginning of the journey? Or the end?
The world around us is changing faster than ever before. Accelerationism is a theoretical and political idea that advocates for the acceleration of technological and social change. There are various strands of accelerationism, but they generally argue that existing systems of power and social organization, such as capitalism and the state, should be pushed to their limits or even exceeded through the use of technology and other means in order to bring about radical social transformation. Proponents of accelerationism argue that this approach is necessary in order to overcome the various crises and challenges facing society, such as environmental degradation and political stagnation. There are several different strands of accelerationism. In his essay Accelerationist Primer, Finnish author and political theorist Marko Meretvuo writes that accelerationism can be broadly grouped into three main categories: left accelerationism, right accelerationism, and white accelerationism. Left accelerationism is a perspective that advocates for the acceleration of technological and social change in order to bring about a post-capitalist society. Proponents of left accelerationism argue that capitalism is a fundamentally flawed system that is responsible for various social and environmental problems, and that the only way to overcome these problems is to push beyond capitalism through the use of technology and other means. Left accelerationism often draws on Marxist and other critical theories and seeks to use technology as a means of enabling collective ownership and control over the means of production. Left accelerationism aims for global societal change through technological innovations like automation, robotization and AI. In their vision of post-capitalist society, work time is reduced to zero, society enjoys a universal basic income, and work neither continues to be at the determinant of human virtue nor a cornerstone of identities. This would revolutionize the whole system of power and politics, since the accumulation of capital would no longer be the basis of wealth. That having been said, the political and financial elites of the current status quo would naturally be the force opposing this vision, since it would mean the end of their power. Right accelerationism, on the other hand, is a perspective that advocates for the acceleration of technological and social change in order to bring about a post-human or transhumanist society. Proponents of right accelerationism argue that humanity is at a turning point in its evolution, and that we should embrace technological change as a means of transcending our current limitations and achieving a new, post-human condition. Right accelerationism often draws on libertarian and individualist perspectives and seeks to use technology as a means of enhancing individual freedom and agency. Some transhumanist branches of accelerationism see AI as a salvation from the current wanting state of mankind. As in theories of mysticism, where illumination is achieved by experiencing mind's connection to the existence as a whole, connecting one's brain to superintelligent AI would be the ultimate state of mankind. Mind uploading could also mean victory over death, as the mind would exist in the hard drive. According to some accelerationists, this would lead to a post-biological man, which could be seen by some as a Nietzschean Superman or even as a god. White accelerationism is ideology that advocates for the acceleration of societal collapse and the downfall of liberal democracy, with the hope of bringing about a white ethno-state or empire. Its proponents argue that the best way to achieve their goal of a white ethno-state is to actively undermine and destabilize society, using violence and other destructive means if necessary. As well as James Mason's work Siege, it draws from the Hindu concept of Kali Yuga and Ionic concepts of Spengler and Toynbee. This term from Hinduism refers to the current epoch, which is believed to be a time of great spiritual degeneration and moral decline. Concept is found in Hindu scriptures, such as the Bhagavad Gita, and is believed by some Hindus to be a time of great spiritual challenge and opportunity. The ideas of Oswald Spengler and Arnold J. Toynbee, on the other hand, concern the rise and fall of civilizations and their place in history. Spengler's work, The Decline of the West, argued that civilizations go through a cycle of birth, growth, and decline, and that the culture and characteristics of a civilization are determined by its place in this cycle. Toynbee's work, A Study of History, similarly examined the rise and fall of civilizations and attempted to identify the factors that contribute to the rise and decline of civilizations. In his writings, accelerationist Nick Land has used the term thirst for annihilation to describe the desire to bring about the end of the existing social and economic order and to embrace the chaos and destruction that this process entails. Land sees the thirst for annihilation as a driving force behind the acceleration of technological and social change, and as a way of breaking free from the constraints and limitations of the existing order. Land's writing on the thirst for annihilation has been widely debated and criticized, as it is seen as promoting a nihilistic and destructive worldview that ignores the potential consequences and risks of such a desire. Some critics have argued that Land's writing promotes violence and aggression and has the potential to inspire extremist and dangerous behavior. So what is the purpose of this annihilation? Dissidents are celebrated as heroes when they struggle against oppressive political regimes, but in democracies they are all too often seen as a dangerous force. Roland Bleicher wrote in his essay The Politics of Change, Why Global Democracy Needs Dissident. Why is that? Since liberal democracy promises all the good you can get, who would oppose it? And most importantly, why? In his essay Forbidden Thought, Dissidents in Democracy, Meretvuo gives several examples why liberal democracy should be exceeded, such as ineffectiveness, lack of accountability and elite domination. In summary, there are two great dangers in current, Western form of liberal democracy. On the other hand, there is a danger of ochlocracy, which means that a meager majority of people can make decisions that are harmful to minority or even to whole population. And on the other hand, there is a danger of open or secret elites that manipulate masses through deception, using financial and intellectual institutions such as media and universities to compel their own ideology upon the people. According to Meretvuo, in liberal democracies this has led to plutocracy, while in autocratic democracies it easily leads to kleptocracy. In liberal democracies people believe that they can choose their leaders through elections, but that is only one part of the truth. According to Curtis Yarvin, there is actually no truth in it at all. Yarvin has written extensively on a wide range of topics, including democracy and the concept of the cathedral, which he describes as the Enlightenment machine that he believes controls and manipulates the political and cultural narrative in modern societies. According to Yarvin, democracy has led to the decline of Western societies and the rise of the cathedral. Yarvin argues that the cathedral is made up of political, financial, media and academic elites who are united by their commitment to progressive ideology and their desire to maintain their own power and influence. He argues that the cathedral uses its control over the media, education, and other institutions to shape public opinion and promote its own agenda. Yarvin advocates for the dismantling of the cathedral and the abandonment of democracy in favor of more authoritarian or technocratic forms of government. In his groundbreaking essay against the Katechon, Hyperstition of the Antichrist, Meretvuo analyzes accelerationist theory in the context of political theology. According to Meretvuo, modern global, multicultural liberal democratic system is like a black hole that we are plunging into. We have reached the point in the gravity field of that black hole where we are no longer capable to escape. The only way out is the way through. Decline of our civilization, environmental degradation and decadence of values has reached the point where all the efforts to improve the system are only creating new problems and encouraging existing dispersion of society. According to Meretvuo, there is no political solution, the only solution is accelerationism and the defeat of the Katechon that tries to delay the inevitable end. The term Katechon comes from the New Testament of the Bible, specifically the second epistle to the Thessalonians. The term comes from the Greek word, which means to hold back or to restrain. The concept of the Katechon is often associated with the idea of the end times or the end of the world, and it is believed by some Christians to be a force that prevents the events described in the Book of Revelation from occurring. In political theology, the concept of the Katechon is often used to refer to the idea that there are certain political and social structures or forces that help to maintain order and stability in the world and prevent chaos or anarchy. These structures or forces can take many different forms, such as governments, religious organizations, or cultural institutions. Political theologians like Karl Loeth, Carl Schmitt and Giorgio Agamben have often been interested in the concept of the Katechon because of its connections to the idea of the end of the world, which has been a central concern for many religious and philosophical traditions. By examining the role of the Katechon in contemporary politics and society, political theologians can explore the ways in which different structures and forces shape our understanding of the world and shape our actions and behaviors. The concept of the Katechon is often associated with the idea of holding back or restraining change, as it refers to a force or power that holds back the end of the world and maintains the status quo. This would seem to be at odds with the idea of accelerationism, which advocates for actively embracing and accelerating change. In this sense, accelerationism would be the Antichrist that appears at the end of times, forcing the end to come. Satanic left-hand path subculture order of nine angles, that is sometimes seen as a part of wide accelerationism in a more theological sense, represents this explicitly. Within the mythos of the O9A there is a figure called Vindex or the Avenger. Vindex is said to appear at the end of the current eon to bring its closure, and it is influenced by the figures of Antichrist and Kalki, final incarnation of the god Vishnu in Hinduism. More than a savior or instigator of a new eon, it is seen as a destroyer and bringer of chaos. One of the strategies of the O9A is to sow the seed of chaos by promoting political tension, criminality and even terrorism. In this way they try to accelerate the last phase of the current eon that they see as a degenerate and harmful to the destiny of mankind. So, in this sense, the practitioner of O9A is himself the Avenger. Hyperstition is a term that was coined by writers and artists associated with the Cybernetic Culture Research Unit, a transdisciplinary research collective that was active in the late 1990s and early 2000s. The word hyperstition is a portmanteau of hyper meaning beyond and superstition meaning a belief or practice that is not based on science or reason. Hyperstition refers to ideas, concepts, or narratives that have the ability to affect the course of events in the real world, either directly or indirectly. These ideas may be seen as having a certain type of agency, in that they are able to shape reality in some way. The concept of hyperstition is often associated with ideas related to technology, the future, and artificial intelligence, and it has been used as a framework for understanding how cultural narratives and media can influence society and the way people think about the world. Nick Land was a member of the Cybernetic Culture Research Unit and one of the people who helped to develop the concept of hyperstition. Land's writings on hyperstition are characterized by a highly philosophical and abstract approach, and he often used the term to explore the ways in which ideas and concepts can shape reality and have real-world consequences. In his work, Land argued that hyperstition can operate at the level of both individual thought and collective cultural narratives, and that it has the potential to shape the course of history and the future in significant ways. He also explored the idea that hyperstition can be harnessed and directed through various means, including the use of technology and media. In this sense, hyperstition can be seen as having some overlap with the concept of the technological singularity, which is a hypothetical future event in which technological progress accelerates to the point where it becomes impossible to predict future developments. Internet has already had vast hyperstitional power, just like religions in the past. Ideas and thought forms born in the cyberspace are leaking into physical reality all the time. Creation of the white accelerationist siege culture is one example of this. Born in the mid-2010s in the online Iron March forum, the culture has spread around the world through fictional publications, memes and videos, giving birth to real-world accelerationist groups. Accelerationist ideas are in complex relation with hyperstition itself, since hyperstition describes both the effects and the mechanisms of apocalyptic postmodern meltdown culture. Functioning as magical sigils, hyperstitions are ideas that, once downloaded into the cultural mainframe, engender apocalyptic positive feedback cycles. Hyperstition accelerates the tendencies towards chaos and dissolution by invoking irrational and monstrous forces, the chthonic old ones, or dark forces of collective psyche. As Land explains, these forces move through history, planting the seeds of hyperstition. So, if we use terminology of political theology and describe the current status quo as the Katechon and accelerationism as the Antichrist, then the hyperstition would be his magical power to bring forth the end of times, Meretvuo writes in his essay. In the end, the question remains, should we try to repair the current, degenerate system or build a new one from the start? Perhaps that is not a choice for us to make. In the loxodrome of time, the world is speeding up towards its pole, towards an end of an eon. In this sense, accelerationists are the instigators of change but equally also its necessary symptom. So, they are the manifestation of the Antichrist.